I came across this story, and I was struck by the layers of loyalty at play here. Let me share it with you, because this is the kind of narrative that asks us to consider where our boundaries should live when the people we love won't set their own. Our narrator is 24, planning her wedding with her partner. They're doing what every couple does at this stage, building their guest list, shaping the day they want to remember. And like many couples, they started by identifying what they called problem guests. People who might cause drama, people who might start a fight, people who might require calling the police. Notice that phrase, might require calling the police. That's not hypothetical language. That's the language of experience. They removed 6 people from their list. Family and friends who would, in their words, make the day way more stressful. Most of the remaining guests would receive +1s, but with a clear boundary. Established partners only, no casual relationships, no first dates. And then there's the friend. We'll call him David, 25 years old, one of the bride's best friends. And he's in an abusive relationship. The narrator doesn't soften this. She doesn't hedge. She's beaten him. She's driven him to a sundown town, a place where Black people face danger simply for existing, because there was a bar she wanted to visit and he got chased. Think about that choice. Think about what it means to bring someone you supposedly love into harm's way for something so trivial. He's abandoned hobbies. He's pulled away from the things that made him who he was. The friend group has staged multiple interventions over the years. Interventions where police were called because she became violent. And every time, David justifies it. Law school stress, he says. The narrator doesn't buy it. Neither would I. This is where the story takes a turn. Because at a certain point, you can't break up with someone's abusive partner for them. You can only hold space. You can only stay present. You can only refuse to pretend that what's happening is acceptable. The RSVP went out. David didn't receive a +1 option. Everyone else with an established partner did. He was the only exception. He noticed. Of course he noticed. He asked around, confirmed he was being singled out, and confronted the bride. She explained her reasoning clearly. Only established significant others are invited, and she hates his girlfriend. Not dislikes, hates. Strong language, earned language. David asked her to give his girlfriend a chance. To which the bride responded, firstly, no. Secondly, even less at my wedding. Notice the structure of that response. It's not just a refusal. It's a reinforcement. It's a boundary drawn twice in the same breath. David argued that she was singling him out, preventing him from celebrating a day of love while he'd be alone, without his own love. The bride's partner supported her decision. Most of the wedding party did too, but 4 people disagreed. The bride's mother, 1 bridesmaid, 2 groomsmen. Their argument was more nuanced. They suggested the bride should have given David the +1 option, let him write in his girlfriend's name, and then vetoed it afterward. Their reasoning. By removing the option entirely, the bride had taken away David's agency, just like his girlfriend does. And that's the moment where this narrative asks us to sit with something uncomfortable. In the comments, the story unfolds further. David doesn't actually want to bring his girlfriend to the wedding. He doesn't even want her there. What he wanted was the appearance of trying. He wanted to write her name on the RSVP, have the bride say no, and then tell his girlfriend he'd done his best. He wanted the bride to be the villain so he wouldn't have to face the consequences. The bride refused to play that role. She refused to dance around her hatred. She refused to perform a charade where she pretends to consider someone who put her friend in the hospital with a broken rib. A broken rib. From someone who's supposed to love him. The bride also clarified something else in the comments. She's not trying to control David's life. She's not dictating who he can date or see. She's simply refusing to host his abuser at one of the most important days of her life. There's a difference between controlling someone and refusing to accommodate harm. One is about power over another person. The other is about protecting your own space, your own peace, your own boundaries. Some commenters suggested she report the girlfriend's abuse to her law school. Law schools have mandatory reporting policies. There are systems in place, at least theoretically, to address this kind of violence. But here's what the narrative reveals when you look closely. The systems haven't worked yet, the interventions haven't worked, the police calls haven't worked. David keeps going back, and so the bride is left with an impossible choice. Invite someone she despises, who has harmed someone she loves, to celebrate a day about love and commitment. Or hold her boundary, knowing it might cost her one of her closest friendships. She chose the boundary. The 4 dissenters argued she'd taken away David's agency. But agency isn't the same as enabling someone to avoid consequences. Giving David a +1 he could use as a shield doesn't return his agency. It just gives him another tool to avoid the central problem. He's in a relationship that's destroying him, and he won't leave. This is where the story sits with us uncomfortably. Because we want there to be a right answer. We want there to be a version of this where everyone wins, where love conquers, where friendship endures without sacrifice. But sometimes holding space for someone means refusing to make space for what's hurting them. Sometimes loyalty looks like saying, "I love you too much to pretend this is okay." The bride isn't trying to control David. She's trying to protect her wedding from chaos. She's trying to honor the years of friendship without compromising her own boundaries. She's trying to love him in the only way she has left, by refusing to normalize what's happening to him. And David is caught between 2 worlds. The one where his friends see him clearly, see what's being done to him, and refuse to participate in the fiction that it's acceptable. And the one where his girlfriend has convinced him that love looks like broken ribs and abandoned hobbies and trips to places where his safety doesn't matter. The beauty and the tragedy of this narrative is how it refuses easy answers. The bride isn't wrong for setting this boundary. David isn't wrong for wanting his friend to make this easier for him. The 4 dissenters aren't wrong for worrying about agency. They're all responding to the same unbearable situation. Watching someone they love be destroyed slowly by someone who claims to love him too. And that's how a story transforms understanding. By showing us that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to participate. By reminding us that boundaries aren't punishments, they are the architecture of relationships that endure. Stories like this ask us to consider what we're willing to accommodate in the name of love, and what we're willing to lose by refusing to accommodate it. If you've ever watched someone you love stay in a situation that's harming them, drop a comment below. If you've ever had to choose between keeping the peace and keeping your boundaries, I want to hear about it. And if this story made you think about where you draw your own lines, hit that like button and subscribe, because these are the conversations that matter. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one. Title suggestions primary. I banned my best friend's abusive girlfriend from my wedding. Now he says I took away his agency. Alt 1. My best friend wanted me to be the villain so he could blame me instead of his abusive girlfriend. Alt 2. She put him in the hospital with a broken rib, but he still wants her at my wedding. Alt 3. The wedding guest I refuse to invite, when protecting your day means protecting your friend.